So you're wondering what the heck is happening in the market in Scottsdale, Arizona. Well, in this video, we're going through all the different metrics, the numbers. We're actually going to make it fun so you can know exactly what is happening in the housing market in Scottsdale, Arizona, in case you're thinking of buying or selling there soon.
Where do you think the state of the market is? Based on some of the data I'm looking at, it seems as though there's a lot of conflicting data out there showing maybe we're in a hot market, but maybe in other areas it's kind of cool. So I would say it's balanced. But Samantha, what do you think?
It definitely is. So, especially if you're looking at all the information from the Cromford report, which is like a crazy detailed, insane amount of numbers report, specifically just for Arizona and our housing market here. And of course, you have people who think it's still a seller's market from the past couple of years, and all of the news and the media saying that we're all headed for a crash and all that craziness. So, it definitely falls somewhere in between. If you're looking at all the statistics, all the numbers, specifically for Scottsdale, we actually are back to a balanced market.
Got it. Well, good. Well, thanks for your take on that. So just a quick introduction. My name is Scott Wynn. I'm with the Wynn and Egan team at Neo Home Loans. I keep enough of a pulse on the market, but certainly not as in-depth as a real estate professional. And so that's why I like to have Samantha here to talk about the real estate side of things. So this is Samantha Sloan. She's with eXp Realty. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the people watching about yourself?
Hey, I'm Sam. I am a real estate agent here in the Phoenix metro area. Now, when I say Phoenix metro area, I cover everything from Prescott to Tucson, and everything in between. A lot of different areas. Born and raised here, I am a native. I absolutely love Phoenix, all of Arizona, and everything it has to offer. And so, even though market reports may not be super exciting or thrilling, people like Scott and myself absolutely love it because when you actually know the numbers and know what's going on, it can make a world of difference if you're thinking of buying or selling a home. It can save you tens of thousands of dollars. So knowing what's going on is super important.
Absolutely. The way I look at it is there's opportunity in every market. There may not be opportunity for everyone, but there may be a subset of people that can benefit from every market. And so the key for us is to identify what is the opportunity that exists and to go into detail about that. So I think the best way to look at the market is to kind of slice and dice it up a little bit. And so one of the first things that I like to talk about is months of inventory. Generally, just for those that are watching, the months of inventory is an indicator of how hot the market is, how much available homes are there in the market. Generally, 4 to 6 months, I would say, is considered a balanced market. And right now in Scottsdale, we're sitting at 3.2 months. So that to me indicates that it's more on the hot side. What do you think?
Exactly, yeah. So for Scottsdale, a normal amount of inventory is about 6 months. And what months of inventory means is if no other homes come on the market, no one else wants to sell their home, we will run out of homes to sell in about 3 months. That's what that means. And so having it about half of normal, that just shows that our supply is still down from where it normally is. There's just not enough homes to go around for the amount of people looking to buy.
Yeah, and we've seen a pretty steady decline over the last few months. I think we hit a high of around 5.5 months about 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
Yep.
So we're continuing to decline. So to me, that says that we've got less homes coming on the market than there is demand for the homes that are on the market. Is that kind of how you look at it as well?
Exactly. Yep. And it's just kind of basic supply and demand. When there's not enough to go around, you're going to see home values go up. Usually people are going to be fighting for the homes that are on the market that are priced really well. And so that kind of goes hand in hand with lower inventory.
Yeah. Well, along those lines are days on market, which is the next metric that I'd like to take a look at. And currently we're sitting at 74.1 days on market, which indicates how long a house sits before it sells, right? And so what I generally see historically is that when inventory is low, days on market start to decline because there is more competition. And so therefore homes don't sit on the market as long, but we're not seeing that correlated as much as maybe we have in the past. Do you have any thoughts on why we're seeing a decline in the inventory levels, but not necessarily on the days on market?
Yeah, great question. Well, so all of like the 2000 from like 2020, 2021, 2022, it was an absolute insane market. Like homes were flying off. If you didn't put an offer day one, you probably wouldn't get it. And so we had days on market go way down to an average of about 25 days on market when it was a super crazy seller's market. And then slowly, as we've getting back to a balanced market, it started to creep up. About a normal amount of average days on market for Scottsdale is around 90 days. So we're actually a little lower than the average. And specifically for Scottsdale, it's not the same as Phoenix. It's not a lot of kind of mid-priced single family homes. Scottsdale is one of our luxury markets. And when you get into luxury, when you get into these homes that are, you know, 2, 3, 5, $15 million, that's a very small percentage of buyers that are looking in that price point. Now, there are still townhomes and condos that are in the 200,000 and 300,000s, or single family homes that are, you know, 500,000 or 600,000 in Scottsdale. But because of those really high priced homes that are like millions and millions of dollars, those just sit longer. It's harder to sell a very, very high end luxury home. We have a really small pool of buyers looking for it. So because of that, in Scottsdale, you've got all of those multi-million dollar homes kind of raising up the average days. So that's why we're seeing most of the more affordable homes are going quicker, but those multi-million dollar homes are still sitting a little bit longer. So with Scottsdale, that's probably a little bit why we're seeing longer days on market, even though the inventory is going down. Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of buyers sitting on the sidelines because interest rates have headed up. We've also got sellers not wanting to sell because they're locked in at very low interest rates. And so you've got this weird dynamic that doesn't typically play out historically. And generally, if there are very few homes on the market, then it's a seller's market. And the sellers kind of have the control, and therefore days on market are low because there's lots of buyer competition. And then on the other side, when there is a buyer's market, you have homes that are sitting quite a bit longer, and you have less competition and you have more negotiation. But we're kind of in this weird middle ground where there's not a lot of activity on either side necessarily, because of the weird dynamics we've had over the last couple of years.
Yeah, Scottsdale's 40 miles long. There's a whole lot to Scottsdale. If you're looking at North Scottsdale, it's these very, very high-end luxury homes in the mountains and golf resorts and everything like that. If you're looking at like South Old Town Scottsdale, that's where a lot of investors are buying. Old Town Scottsdale is a tourist hotspot. And so people are buying up like crazy because you can get homes that you can Airbnb, you can do short-term rentals, a lot of investment properties and stuff. So definitely a lot of cash buyers are focusing on that more South Scottsdale area, whereas North Scottsdale, it's primarily either like primary homes that people are buying or like secondary vacation homes and things like that.
Got it. So very specific areas of Scottsdale, depending upon the type of buyer.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Well, one of the biggest movers over the last month in Scottsdale was the number of sales or closings that occurred in the month. And we were up from 448 closings to 676. That's almost a 51% increase in sales. What do you think we can attribute that to?
Yeah, we saw a huge jump. So part of it was interest rates have been like going up and down. It's a little bit of a roller coaster this year. A lot of people have been waiting on the sidelines the past 6 months, hoping for those 2% interest rates. We are probably not going to be seeing those again anytime soon. People also thought at the end of last year that the market was crashing with all this doomsday, doom and gloom. We're still hearing that from the news, but I think people realize seeing this year, there is so much business, there is so much commerce coming into Arizona, and we are just continuing to grow and explode like crazy. I think people are realizing that there may be other parts of the country where their market is not doing great, but our housing market is staying really strong. We have increasing demand, decreasing supply. So our housing market is really strong. A lot of people kind of realized that, and I think came around to, okay, interest rates, there's ways to buy those interest rates down. Lenders also starting this year brought back a lot of those programs for the rate buy downs, for down payment assistance. A lot of the programs that can help you get into a home for less came back once all the craziness of the last couple of years settled down from that market. And so I think that has been a bunch of factors that all kind of contributed to people kind of getting off the fence and deciding to go ahead and move forward and buy.
I think it's also a psychological shift to a degree, right? I mean, we went from rates in the threes to the rates in the sevens very, very quickly, right? And so
crazy quick.
Used to that, is challenging for someone, right? And then on the other side of it, we had a really hot market where there were no homes on the market. There were bidding wars happening, and you didn't even know whether or not you could buy a home because you were competing against 10, 15 other people for every property that you might make an offer on. And so I think as things have cooled down a little bit in terms of the frenziness of the market, but also just getting used to the fact that, hey, rates are higher, and that's basically the new normal, if you will. Not that we're going to be always at this particular mark. I do expect that rates are going to come down, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But I think it's just a matter of people getting used to the new market and getting used to the fact that rates are going to be a little bit higher than they have been. So spring buying season, I think that's just naturally you're going to go out and start looking at buying homes again. So that's absolutely it. And in a normal market, now the past couple of years were crazy, but on average, Arizona, we see an uptick kind of like the beginning of the year all the way through spring. We always see an increase of buyers. And so that's kind of part of just the normal cyclical market. But also the past couple of years of it just being this insane seller's market, buyers got beat up and tired. And they did not want to put in offers $100,000 over the asking price and waive appraisal and waive inspection. So there's been a lot of buyers who just couldn't compete in that absolutely insane market. They've kind of been patiently waiting on the sidelines. And I think they kind of waited through the end of last year as they saw rates going up. And then as rates start ticking down a little bit, we get down from 7, we're like in 6, which is a little better than 7. But they're also seeing that now it's a more balanced market. So they have more opportunity to negotiate, to get a better deal, to have their closing costs paid, to have a rate buy down so they get a better rate, and all the, having the seller pay for that. So just having an opportunity to buy a home in a market that is not as competitive and get a very similar deal to, even though the rates are higher, the price is a little bit lower because of the negotiations. You can also get the seller to pay for a lot of things. So pretty comparable, but without having to make a split-second decision in like 1 hour of the home coming on the market. You have some breathing room to make a big financial decision.
Exactly.
Like buying a house and getting a mortgage.
It's a huge decision. Yeah. Oh my gosh. If I was a buyer in the past couple of years, I would have been stressed out. So that was a great time and great opportunity for buyers.
So let's look at median sales price. This is interesting to me because if we look over the last year or so, you mentioned a roller coaster earlier. This metric is probably the biggest roller coaster. I mean, we went up to a high of around 865, then we dropped down to about 785, then bumped back up to about 827, down to 730, up to 807, down to 795, and it's all over the place. So we're down from last month by about 12,500, by about 20,000 over the last year, which for other Phoenix markets, that's not as much of a spread as we're seeing in other markets, meaning there's less of a swing up and down, but month to month on the chart, it looks like we're on a roller coaster. So any thoughts or opinions as far as median sales price and where you think we're headed? Do you think we've hit kind of bottom and we're generally headed back up, or what thoughts do you have there?
It's definitely been a roller coaster. And so just kind of seeing like kind of that middle ground of where prices are at. Scottsdale, like I said, Scottsdale is kind of not a super normal market. It is kind of that high-end luxury market, but it has been an absolute roller coaster because the past couple of years with the lower rates, when there were lower rates, people who had that money or cash buyers were just going absolutely crazy, snapping up everything they could. And every time rates would change, you would kind of see a little bit of a dip. And then if they went back down, all of a sudden, like buying would shoot back up. So for Scottsdale specifically, like I said, it's a lot of investors, a lot of people buying secondary vacation homes, some primary homes as well. But because Scottsdale is so unique in the type of people that are buying and the reason that they're buying homes in that Scottsdale area, that market looks very different from kind of the normal market. So I think that kind of accounts for part of the roller coaster is just the reasons that people are buying. A lot of investors, secondary vacation homes, everything like that.
You also mentioned the fact that there are some very, very high-priced homes in Scottsdale. So I just wonder if maybe occasionally one of those sales occurs, and that brings up that median price
shoots up. Yep.
Bit, right? So I mean, that could be another possibility. Although we're not looking at averages, we are looking at medians. So hopefully, those really high-priced homes aren't necessarily going to pull that median up a whole lot. It would only pull it up maybe one sale, still not necessarily impacting it. So just interesting to see such swings in the market in comparison to other cities. So
yeah,
you had mentioned a little bit earlier negotiating and the fact that buyers have a little bit more negotiation power now than they had in the past. And the metric on the sold to list ratio is an indicator of that. Sold to list ratio basically talks about the fact that if you list a home at a particular price, how much does it actually sell for? What percentage of that sales price? And what we saw in Scottsdale is we were at a high of about 102.4, meaning, again, people were having to overbid on homes significantly in order to get those homes about this time last year. But we definitely cooled down, and we've kind of stayed there in Scottsdale, right around the 95 to 96% mark. We're currently sitting at 96.3% sold to list ratio. So again, that really means that buyers have some negotiation options. Any other thoughts about that sold to list ratio and why you think it's not headed back up, even though we're starting to see sales pick up?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think for buyers, like they are very excited about this. They actually have the opportunity to have some of, like I said, their closing costs covered, or even just negotiate on the price. The past couple of years, when it was a seller's market, whatever it was priced at, you paid more than that, which was just absolutely crazy. And so now we have the opportunity where in this balanced market, a lot of buyers are offering either the list price or sometimes under. A lot of times you're getting it negotiated for less. Like I said, also getting the rate buy downs and the closing costs, negotiating the seller paying for that. But even though it is a balanced market, because Scottsdale is kind of that luxury high-end arena a little bit, those homes are going to sit a little bit longer. And if a seller really needs to sell, they're going to be open to negotiating and taking a little bit less just to get that home sold. So we'll see kind of where things are headed. I think now that our inventory is continuing to drop and our demand is steadily going up, we're probably going to see that go up a little bit. And instead of being around that 96, we may get back up to 97, 98, maybe even fully 100. We will kind of see what happens in the next few months. But because we're getting so much demand, our supply is going down. We're probably going to see that number creep up a little bit, and people are going to get closer and closer to list price, maybe even over in some situations. Like I said, if homes are priced really well, they're still selling really quickly and you're still getting multiple offers. So in those cases, you are probably going to get a little bit of a bidding war if you price it well and someone's going to pay over asking in order to win that home.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think this is a hard metric sometimes to consider in terms of you don't know the particular on a specific home, right? Because if a specific home is priced below market, then it might sell over asking price, right? On the other hand, if you list it above, well, then yeah, you might have to come down a little bit. So it's just kind of an indicator of the market in general, looking like they're taking about 3 to 4% off of the list price in order to get it sold, which again, just kind of indicates that there might be some negotiation options, which also plays into seller paid closing costs. And you talked a little bit about the fact that sellers are maybe willing to participate in helping buyers to buy the home through seller paid closing costs, and also ways to utilize that to help make the home more affordable through buy downs. And so one of the things we've seen is a steady increase in not only the amount of seller paid closing costs. We're currently sitting at about $9,300 for sellers that do give seller paid closing costs. That is what they provide. And about 26% of sellers do provide closing costs. And that's up from 7% from last year. So that's a steady increase as well. So between those two factors, being able to negotiate on the maybe the list price, as well as to get those seller paid closing costs, it definitely seems like that's an opportunity for buyers in Scottsdale.
Definitely. Well, yeah, I mean, last year it was like less than 1 in 10 of the sellers would agree to cover some of those costs for you. Now 1 in 4 are doing it. With my clients specifically, most of the buyers that I work with, a lot of them just having that breathing room and wiggle room to have some of those costs covered makes a huge difference. So at least 50% of the clients that I work with were able to get some of those closing costs covered by the seller or do a rate buy down just to make it more doable. And sellers, now that it's a little bit more of a balanced market, their homes aren't flying off in like a day or two, they know that in order to get that home sold, they need to be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more willing to make the deal happen. And so if it's giving, a few $1,000s of credits to make it happen, they're pretty willing and open to do it.
Yeah. Well, along this whole time, we've been talking a little bit about interest rates. And so I'd like to dive into that a little bit, and also these buy downs that you've mentioned as well. We've definitely started seeing a decline in mortgage rates over the last few weeks, which I definitely think is helping to heat up the market a little bit. We're certainly nowhere near where we were last year. And honestly, I don't think we're going to get back there for foreseeable future. That was a very, very, very abnormal situation. I've been doing mortgage lending for 21 years, and I've never seen rates as low as they were over those that time period where we were in the 2s and 3s. And so Where do we think rates are headed? Well, my opinion on it is that I think rates are going to continue to go down. And the reason for that is because of how rates are tied to inflation. When we saw inflation rise as rapidly as it did, well, what happened? We saw mortgage rates go up too, right? And the same is going to be true when inflation starts coming down. And we've already started seeing some of those inflation numbers come down. And that's why we're starting to see mortgage rates come down. Coming up here in May, one of the big, when the inflation numbers in May get released, one of the big things that's going to catch up are shelter costs. Shelter costs make up a decent portion of the inflation numbers. We are already seeing housing prices go down a little bit. We've seen rental renewals go down a little bit, and those things lag in that inflation number, and they're going to be reported for the first time as a decline here in May, and that's going to bring those inflation numbers down even further. And I think that's really going to help bring interest rates down for potential buyers. And so definitely an opportunity that I think is going to be available to people if they buy down the road. But that's also going to bring competition, right? I mean, the lower interest rates go, the more affordable homes get, and that's going to bring more buyers into the market. But it's also going to have an impact on home prices as well. Would you agree with all of that?
Definitely, yeah. Well, and we saw that when like the lower the rates go, more people can afford to buy a home. You can also afford to buy more home. As the rates go down, the amount of home you can buy goes up. And so that just opened the floodgates for a lot of buyers to have some really great opportunity. But the lower the rates go, and the more home you can buy and the more people that can buy, obviously demand shoots up. And when demand shoots up, home prices shoot up. And it's just kind of that correlation. And so if we do start to see rates continue to go down, it will be great because that's going to afford a lot of buyers to have the opportunity to buy a home. But if our supply can't keep up with it, we're going to get into a little bit more of a seller's market like we did previously. It may not be as insane as the previous seller's market because rates are probably not going to be in the 2s and 3s anytime soon. But just seeing a little bit, the more that demand goes up, the more the supply goes down and just gets more out of whack. We're just going to see more and more competition get back into the market.
Well, there's definitely some creative ways to take advantage of the market currently as a home buyer. You've mentioned buy downs. One of the best things that buyers can do right now is to utilize the seller's willingness to negotiate and to maybe pay for closing costs to do temporary buy downs. So if, let's say, just hypothetically, mortgage rates are sitting at around 7%, you can do a temporary buy down to buy that rate down for the first year to either 6 or even as low as 5%. And then the next year, it goes to either, so let's just say a 2-1 buy down. If you're at 7% note rate, meaning that's the market rate, you can get your first year interest rate at 5%, the next year at 6, and then it stays at 7 for the remainder of the loan. A lot of people misunderstand these in comparison to ARMs. These are not adjustable mortgages. These are stair-step mortgages, really. And that's a way to make homeownership very affordable with these higher interest rates. Because you're getting such lower than market rates. And you can utilize the seller's willingness to negotiate to cover the cost of doing that buy down. I'll add one more piece in here that we're doing for our clients, which is we offer a certainty guarantee to help people gain certainty in their decision to buy and to buy now, even though rates are a little bit higher. Because rates are higher, there's less buyer demand. So you can buy a home now. You can get the temporary buy down paid for possibly by the seller because you have that negotiation power. And then the certainty guarantee will kick in. So you have 2 years to refinance and will refinance at no cost to you as a buyer. And so the benefit of this is you can get the lower rate for the first year or maybe the first 2 years. And then within that time, we fully expect rates are going to drop because inflation is going to drop. And then we can refinance you at no cost so you can secure that lower interest rate. And the best part about all this is any of the money that the seller has contributed towards that temporary buy down goes into like a savings account held by the mortgage lender. Any money that's left over in that, if we refinance before that time period is up and the money is all used, we can use that to reduce the mortgage balance when we refinance you. So it's a great way for people to take advantage of the market now and get a lower rate when they drop. So any thoughts or opinions on that at all?
Awesome. Well, that's such a cool tool. A lot of people don't know. So I think a lot of these finance terms get thrown around, and until I like jumped into real estate and was a homeowner years and years ago and stuff, a lot of this like finance jargon, I didn't even know what it means. And so I didn't really know what it meant to refinance until I did it on my own place. And a lot of people don't know that you have to pay to refinance. It's not just like a free thing you get to do, like, oh, I'm just going to refinance for free.
Right.
It actually costs money. So the fact that you guys provide that tool and you cover that cost for them to get them a lower rate, you don't have to pay to refinance, plus you're getting a lower rate. So that's just an amazing opportunity to save you money. But yeah, a lot of people with the buy downs don't really understand how it works. So definitely talking with a mortgage professional, understanding what adjustable rate mortgages versus a buy down and understanding the differences between that, seeing the opportunities of the buy down. But yeah, having that great solution of, during or after that buy down, just refinancing. A lot of people, my clients, have been worried that, well, okay, I'll do the buy down. I reduce my rate for those couple of years, but then my rate's going to go back up. I don't want that. But showing them the opportunity of, well, just refinance before then with a really cool program where they cover the cost for you. So you get to refinance for free. And then you don't have to worry about it going back up because you will have the opportunity in the next couple of years to refinance with those newer, better rates that are going to come.
Exactly. Well, very good. Well, overall, it seems as though things are definitely heating up. Even though we're in a balanced market, it seems like we're quickly approaching more of a hot market, more of a seller's market. But anything else you'd like to share about yourself or the market?
Yeah, I mean, so just the Phoenix Metro in general, like I said, Arizona is growing so much. There are so many companies moving here, as a lot of individuals are moving here too. And so whether they're moving here for work, to be with friends and family, one of the specialties that I have is relocation. And about half my clients that I work with are relocating here from other states and just seeing the incredible amount of growth in Arizona. So our market in general, all of the Phoenix Metro, not just Scottsdale, but all the surrounding areas, we're really seeing demand keeps going up because people keep moving here. We keep growing, we keep expanding, but the supply just isn't keeping up. So even though we are kind of a little bit more balanced, like I said, if homes are priced really well, they're selling quickly. Looks like we're headed back to a little bit of a seller's market. And so whether you're looking to buy or sell, just making sure you're connecting with a really good mortgage professional, a really good real estate agent to talk through all these strategies, make a customized plan that's going to benefit you, help you save the most amount of money is really key.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your perspective on the market and sharing your insight. We appreciate it. And I'm sure all the viewers will as well. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Scott.